Feedback is a key aspect for you.
Mm-hmm.
So what changes have you applied after hearing to all the comments users have sent you?
Well, feedback's definitely been a very important part of what we've been doing in the beta on the Battle.net side and the StarCraft II side. There are many examples of, or several examples of user feedback directly impacting what we end up doing with the final design of Battle.net. We've received some very strong feedback, as I mentioned earlier. We received some very strong feedback, some very positive feedback from the community overall on Battle.net as a service. And there's been a few specific themes that we really tend to look for themes or trends in terms of the feedback we're getting from users. Examples of action we've taken based on that feedback include some of the changes we've made to the matchmaking system, making the matchmaking system more accurate for people that are at the far ends of the spectrum from a skill perspective. So, people that are not very good or people that are really good, we're not getting as accurate matchmaking as the folks that were in the middle, sort of the middle level. And so we've taken some feedback and we've taken that feedback from the community and adapted and made changes to our matchmaking service to better balance skill rating and time, the amount of time that the matchmaker looks for your opponents, to better balance that and provide a better, more accurate matchmaking service.
What kind of rewards will the players get when they unlock these achievements?
Yeah, there's really two different forms of unlockable rewards in the new Battle.net for StarCraft II. The first is character portraits. So you'll be able to apply those character portraits, any character portraits that you've unlocked via achievements in your collection, and be able to apply those to your character. So anytime you can show them off to your friends, anyone that's on your friends list, anyone you have chat with, or that checks out your profile after they play a game with you, will be able to check out the portrait. The second form of unlockable reward, and one we're very excited about since it's somewhat new and innovative, is this concept of decals. And these are patterns that you can apply to your units in game, so that you can actually showcase, especially the rare ones, the interesting ones. You can showcase as you're playing people, even people that you don't know. You can check out your decal, and you can personalize your army. So those are two examples.
You were talking earlier about the social network stuff, and it seems that you want to make this sort of StarCraft social thing very similar to Facebook. What's behind this decision?
Well, I mean, we definitely have drawn our much inspiration from Facebook and other social networks out there, as well as other game services, of course, in creating the new Battle.net. But we really, being the fact that we're Blizzard and we already have a huge and vibrant community, we have a long track record of success with the original Legacy Battle.net, of course. We have, over 12 million users on the Legacy Battle.net service. We've been in the business since 1996. We've got 11.5 million people in World of Warcraft. We already have a large and vibrant community. So the design challenge is really, the opportunity is for us to build a social network in the context of a gaming service that specifically meets the needs of our gaming community, that connects those large communities together from a Blizzard gaming standpoint, and that provides social networking features, not just for the sake of pure social networking, since we're not a Facebook or a MySpace, we're a gaming service, and so connects those users together so they can go off and play games and have fun together. And really, that's been our design philosophy behind the social networking components of the new Battle.net.
Let's start with the missions. It seems that you put a lot of effort trying to make them different, but that's something everybody says, and then in the end.
Sure.
So what was your point when you start working in these different objectives for the mission and the goal to make them really look different?
Right, so when we set out to do the missions, one of the things we always focus on to make them feel really unique and special is sort of the core game mechanic for the mission. What is it the player has to do? We do think about the story, but sort of the first thing we think about is is the player going to have to do that feels different from anything he's done before? And especially for a game like StarCraft, what is the player going to have to do that gets him out of his base, that gets him fighting? It's very easy in StarCraft, especially as the Terrans, to put up a wall of bunkers, put a bunch of siege cannons pointing out towards the enemy, and build a lot of stuff. And don't move, right? It's very easy to do that. And it's not ultimately the most fun way to play, right? It can be fun for a little while, but it can get boring very quickly. So we're always looking for ways that we can get players to leave their base, to pull them out, to sort of push them into action, maybe a little bit before they're ready, maybe just as they're ready to go fight, to sort of push their skills as a commander. And so that's sort of the first step for us. Once we've got an idea for what is the gameplay, what's going to make it really feel different when you're actually doing it, then we start talking about the story. We try to figure out, how does the story work with this? What kinds of stories does this gameplay suggest to us? And we try to sort of merge the two together. And we sort of work with guys like Chris Metzen or Brian Kindrigan, the writer guys, to try to make sure that we're merging these ideas with the overall vision for the entire arc of the story for StarCraft. But it always starts with the gameplay.
Some people say that this StarCraft II feels or plays exactly as the first one.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I was talking with one of the guys in your team, and he said that the game doesn't play at all like the first one.
Sure.
It feels really different.
Sure.
To play and
Sure.
have your hands on it. So I would like to know more
Sure.
about this, about
Sure.
the difference you...
Sure, absolutely. So when we set out to make StarCraft II, we definitely were setting out to make a game that harkened to the legacy of the original. So there are a lot of similarities between the original StarCraft and StarCraft II. At the same time, at Blizzard, we feel that StarCraft, the original StarCraft, was so carefully balanced that if you change one thing about that game, it would change all of the tactics, all of the strategies that you were doing at that time. We've changed a lot more than one thing, right? We've changed, in many cases, half the units on these races. So it has changed all of the tactics and all of the strategies that you're using. So it fundamentally alters sort of the basic gameplay tenets of playing these three races. We've also added a ton of terrain mechanics. Like we've added Xel'Naga watchtowers, we've added line of sight blockers, we've added different types of resources that really force you to sort of try some new tactics, try some new strategies if you're going to be successful. For players who didn't play a lot of the original StarCraft, I can see how they would definitely look at the game and go, wow, it looks the same to me. And that totally makes sense to me, right? But if you played some of the original StarCraft or a lot of the original StarCraft, I think you'll look at the game and say, wow, this does feel like a fairly different gameplay experience.
What is behind this challenge mode, or what's exactly the name?
Challenge mode, yeah, the challenge mode.
What is behind your intentions with it?
So when introducing the challenge missions or the challenge mode in StarCraft II, what we're trying to do is give players a chance to learn some of the more important skills they're going to need to play the game either competitively or against the AI. The campaign missions are really all about building up your forces as Jim Raynor and battling your way across the stars, right? And you get all kinds of technology, all kinds of weapons that simply would not be even close to balanced in multiplayer. You get way more powerful stuff than multiplayer could ever handle. We feel like that's really fun for the players who are enthusiastic about solo. They want to feel powerful, and they want to have the mighty weapons that they need to destroy their enemies in solo. But for multi, we take those weapons out to make it a balanced experience. So the challenge mode gives players some more experience and some more instruction and some practice time with some of the basic skills that they're going to need. And hopefully they're fun missions as well. Hopefully they're things that the players can get into and play and have a good time. At the same time, they're learning some very basic skills that will allow them to understand what they need to do to be successful competitive players.
And though justice demands that she die for her crimes, only she can save us.
Wait a second. You're talking about Kerrigan. It's been 4 years. You show up out of nowhere.
Time is short. You must understand. The answers you seek lie within. Study it well. The fate of creation hangs in the balance.
Nice to see you too.